is Man's Truth, Reality Not TV. Welcome, got Brother Dom here, Brother Malik Yell. Today, we have genetic literacy, understanding family structure. We have to talk about family. Black people, we are nothing without family. We can't do this thing individually. We're not going to reach so-called freedom, get reparations, and finally fight this so-called enemy out here if we're not together, united. And today we're going to understand what it means to be united, how we can be united, and what ways to go about this. Brother Dom.
Yeah, so me and Malik were just talking. Malik was kind of going off a rant on the importance of family structure, some of the things that he learned, and it just kind of interests me, and it kind of put me in this, this state of questioning. I'm kind of like, okay, so what are these elements that he's talking about? And he was talking on a few things. We're going to just give you some subtopics, and then he's going to just go off from there. But he was talking about the importance of royal families, and even going back into the importance of genetic literacy and history of African tribes and how they actually set up their structures, from spirituality to family structures, all the way to how they properly identify themselves, the detriment of religion, and how white people got into those African tribes and actually started separating us away from that sovereignty that we once have. The state of black mental illness and how we can basically survive in this white parasitic war that we're living in. So in parts of that, those are some subtopics, but Malik said some pretty good things about having a family, and the family is the first thing to understanding what sovereignty is and nation building. And he says that family, in the essence, actually has traditions and values and bonds and trust and investment. And these are just some core principles that need to happen. So Malik, I just want you to kind of elaborate on some of those principles and just understand what is the importance of having royal families and tribes.
It isn't even so much as you must have royal families and tribes, but it's understanding the process of creating a tribe. And that is maintaining a sanctified birth process. When we understand inheritance, and you understand that inheritance only moves through genetics, then you will realize that wealth only moves through genetics. Your father to your son to his son, or mother to daughter. So you're dealing with an order of succession, and the common denominator is the genes. Now, one thing black people have failed to realize on our pursuit for freedom is that we have been confused by our enemy's ability to merge genetics with nationality. And they've been able to steal, kill, maim in the name of nationality, solely for the purpose of usurping one's genetic right to resources, one's genetic right to their wealth. And so by dismantling families through acts of genocide and social engineering, you can remove one's knowledge of their wealth by removing one's knowledge of their genetics and the importance of family and passing down information as well as your wealth and resources.
That's very deep, man. I got a question for you. You talked about the genetic rights to resources, right,
Yes.
and establishing that too. So do you feel like within the systems that we're living in, that the 1% or the 110% that a lot of people like to say, basically the white royal family, do you think they have genetic rights to the resources?
Do I believe that they have genetic rights? Based on my research, from what I've learned of the ruling families, every one of them have, through either war, conspiracies, have stolen their wealth and have usurped their wealth by aligning their descendants, the families, their descendants with various institutions within governments so that they can set up finances and currency matrices so that they can create their own interests within other people's, within indigenous people's environments and governments. So with this 1%, no, I don't believe that they have a legitimate right. They know that they don't.
Okay, Okay, so we talked about a 1%, basically the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the royal family, right? But I understand that talking about white people is not really going to solve our problem. We are going to solve our problem. So just to kind of direct this conversation back into talking about what we need to do and what our next step should be, what should be like the most main conversation or discussion we should have as black people, or especially this conscious community, about how we're going to liberate ourselves, truly free ourselves based upon genetic literacy and understanding family structure.
Number one, we need to have a consensus that we must have honest conversations on the onset of any type of gathering or think tank. Number one, because without honest conversation, you're never going to build strong bonds. If you keep on proselytizing what you're taught in school, what you're taught in the church, these things that you really have no knowledge of. If you keep on proselytizing these things, then you're going to find yourself hollow and empty because you have no substance. Because you're not dealing with it from an organic perspective. We have to have honest conversations, and the conversations need to be geared towards what is the response that we should have to what's happening to us.
Indeed.
You know, we can go into the technical political standpoint, or you can go into just the everyday general. How do you respond to genocide? How do you respond to a blatant removal of your nationality, your inability to contract between you and your brother without permission from a foreigner in your midst, without the ability to make your own friends, without the ability to have children in your own communities, with your own family, with your own documents, you know, with confidence. Without that ability, we're not going to ever be free. So
we will have to first, black people have to first acknowledge it as being genocide.
Exactly. So the first thing we have to do is we have to have the conversation. Let's make it honest. We have to understand that what we have to have a response for what's going on, and we must properly identify what has happened and what is going on.
Yeah.
The conversation we must have is autonomy, and the fear must be removed. The jealousy must be removed, and it must be added with love. Our relationships must have love. That's the only way. But our conversations must be honest, and it must deal with autonomy, self-government. It must be dealing with our tribal, clan connection, our birthrights, our soil rights, our blood rights. Everything that makes us organic human beings, we must take into account, and on our own scientific wherewithal, we should be able to design our own future.
I want to get back to what you was talking about love, because we really can't get to where we actually need to be if we can't pass that first step.
And what's that
And
first
that first
step?
step is love, like you said. So how do we go about that the right way, the proper way? What will we have to sacrifice?
Okay, though, number one, you cannot teach a blind from birth the continents of what the sun is. You're trying to explain something to someone who has no idea how to use the faculty necessary to behold it. So, to bring love, we, those who claim to have light, those who claim to be conscious, those who go out before the people and seek to elevate the conversation, must begin to go past and beyond the belief stage, and must go beyond even the faith stage, and be in understanding who they are supposed to be. We must be the truth. We must be a walking design. We can't say we need family, but we don't grow our own and can't feed our own with the sweat of our own brow.
Dysfunctional.
And it's impossible to sit back and believe that you have the complete fidelity of your wife while she's working for a foreign institution, who have created a eugenic environment to sap any energy that you could possibly muster for themselves and their subsidiaries. So our main focus now to bring love, must be the realization, must bring truth. Truth brings love. But you have to bring love first simply because sometimes truth can bring pain to those who are not prepared and those who continue to sin. So we must understand that to bring love, we must connect with our families. Because it is through this blood connection that you owe your existence.
Indeed.
It's what you owe your genes.
Indeed.
You know, when you're around your people, it's like you're around a bunch of mirrors. And you see yourself from every angle. And so now you understand more about yourself, and people can unlock the information that's designed in your genes. You know your brain, when it wants to send information, it sends information through your neurons. And sends it through these neurotransmission. It's light. Do they ever tell you what is that neurotransmitter? What is it that is sent? It is information. It is electrolytes. It is information being sent. And to be able to unlock information, you must be around those who have the code. And so family must be the first priority. And turning your family into a business must be your main focus.
Yeah, man, I got a question for you, but it's just you dropped so many jewels. What is your feel, and this is probably a tough question, on a representation of men and women cooperating together? Because I feel like it's a division with our people. It's a constant fight. We've been, tricked into sorcery, and then instead of, trying to push back from the sorcery from its cause, we take it in and we play it amongst each other, causing that division, consenting to our own genocide. So what is like the representation of the male and the female? And what are their parts in actually establishing this family structure, understanding genetic literacy, and actually establishing this new identity, building this family?
What is the destruction? I don't know if we have the time to even go into that. The complete structure. The real to understand who we are, we have to have a higher conscious level of where we came from. Now, not everyone's going to get it. And these religions have encoded the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, all these different books that have ancient ways, with ancient rites and rituals that are to be performed by these ancient families. They still have elements of what it is to be a man and elements of what it is to be a woman. And it does it in a way that you can't teach everyone, but it does it in a way to where they can still affect what they want to affect and grow as a family.
The royal family. You spoke on that briefly. So since you said that, dealing with the division between a man and woman is a bit complex, we may not have time to fix that. So what do you think is the importance of the royal family and building a royal family? What do they represent for the people?
Now, for black people, it's particularly talking for all people.
Absolutely.
The family, and I'm going to also answer that question about the man and the woman.
Absolutely.
Process.
Absolutely.
The man, our bodies are electronic, and women's bodies are protonic. We used to be one. They represent the matrix that brings the souls, the seed, the fire, the light into this dimension. And they, through their natural disposition, are the ones who are responsible for the education, early education of the children, the early nurturing of the children, healing of the children. They're normally responsible for the healings of the nations as well, and maintaining the medicinal culture and history. The men will protect us. The men are born to maintain the knowledge coming in and out of the unseen, and to just bestow that knowledge onto the woman so she can take that information and create society with it. The man's purpose is to preserve the purity of his seed and to continue. The man is designed to continue. Now, a royal family is the family that should uphold the highest standard of what it means to be a part of that culture. So you have to have a culture. You have to have initiation of rites of passage. You have to have standards of operating procedures. You have to have codes and ethics,
Set of principles.
language. You have to know how to properly diffuse any conflicts by yourselves. Understanding your biology and your genetics, the food that makes you healthy, the food that makes you sick. You know? And how to regiment these things. So all of that comes from knowledge. These royal families are the families who have the highest in learning, who set the record, who set the pace for advancement for the society, for the tribe, for the clan. You know, and they're appointed by the people who voluntarily give up some of their sovereignty, their right to be royal in their own mind, to give these people, this family, the right to speak for us, to demonstrate the best of us when other people with other cultures want to do business with us. We got a representative that we trust, because we can't send everybody. Not everybody can go and represent the people.
Yeah.
Not everybody.
Yeah.
It's true. Repeat that again. Not everybody
Not
can
everybody.
represent the people.
So the purpose of the royal family is to represent, you know, the sovereignty of the people, the natural organic ability and ingenuity of the people, and it owes its prestige from the people, and the people uphold it by giving up liability, by sharing the liability of everyone else. You know. So that's the whole purpose of the royal family. That's the purpose of the man. That's the purpose of the woman. But it's all depending upon the energy that's available on the earth, the energy that's available in the land that's beneath their feet. That's in their grasp, in their hands. You know, it all depends on the mentality of the women, because when we understand that genetics is something beyond, it has a mind of its own. What we think is us is an after effect. What we see is an after effect. It's a predetermined thing. And you actually have this is predetermined. Your genes already knew this was going to happen. When it was born, it says, all right, about 10 more years. All right, 5 more years. I mean, it's just going. It's counting down. Your body's already moving on a time scale. It's synchronized with everything that's already spinning around. It already is. So what we're dealing with is an after effect. And it's a synchronicity of it all. So the role of the man and the woman will change. Because, you know, when you read indigenous history, you're going to find that the moon wasn't always here.
That's interesting. Interesting to point out.
And you're going to also find that our ancestors wrote a lot about the moon, they wrote a lot about Venus, and they wrote a lot about how we used to move around the sun, and how we used to just interface, and how this moon that was part of the earth, from a cataclysm from Venus and the earth, came out of the Atlantic Ocean, what you call the Atlantic Ocean, and caused the tectonic plates to exist and to shift, and to cause what you call today to be the continents, etc. And it's been drifting for eons. You know, our ancestors wrote like that, and now Caucasians and white scientists are talking about how, you know, this big crater that they're trying to figure out where the moon. They realizing now that the moon wasn't always here, and they realizing that the moon affects the woman, and the moon affects the woman's menstrual cycle, and it affects her gonadotropin luteinizing hormone.
That could explain a lot of things.
And that their menstrual cycle is actually synchronized with the moon phases.
Yeah.
And that has affected them, and that there was no such thing as the female before the moon. That our ancestors used to always speak about the seed, and that the man used to carry the seed, and that the man knew how to plant the seed. We had the woman faculties. And we really were one. We just had a pure, better pedigree. But then the cataclysm hit, and this is where you get all these religions from. And the woman became. Yeah, it was some shit. That's what our ancestors used to write. They used to write about the self-producing God.
Green Sally up, Green Sally down. Last done start, gotta tell the ground. Green Sally up, Green Sally down.